Welcome to the Creative Liberty Podcast. I'm your host, Major Chisholm. And in the studio, on the FaceTime with me today is a Mr. Josh O'Gorman, film enthusiast, film student, and filmmaker. Welcome, Josh.
Hey, it's great to be on here tonight.
Likewise, good to have you on here. So, We're talking about filmmaking in the era of COVID and how that may have changed. Take it away.
Yeah. So I can tell you right now, as a film student at Colorado Film School, that they aren't greenlighting, I'm using air quotes here, any productions at this time. We just started our new session of classes, our new semester of classes this past Monday. And they're telling us to write stuff and do pre-production on stuff, but they're not giving us the green light just yet. I had my production class today, and today was my first day in it. And they told us that, to keep writing stuff, and that by October, if things have gotten better, that we can go forward on shooting. Which is exciting to me. It's weird doing online classes for something that's so hands-on and having to stick around, my apartment and just do, basically, draw shot lists or storyboards and all these things. But at least I'll be more prepared in the long run when it comes to getting to my actual shoot part of it, which hopefully I get to, because I am looking forward to it. I say I have a pretty good script right now. It's basically an adaptation of the song Hotel California, which somebody pointed out to me after I'd written the thing. That looked at me and said, "You just realized you wrote the song Hotel California." I was like, "Damn, you're right." And I really had to look it over, and I had to look at the lyrics, and I was like, "Oh my God, this." But it's like it's an interesting concept when you get down to it. I mean, my story revolves around a bar, around just a gothic nightclub of sorts. That once you get inside of it, you can't leave it, and that's the last lyric in Hotel California before the solo starts.
Okay.
And so it's kind of following that same idea. It's got some of those same horror elements in it. And for one, I'm looking forward into doing another draft of it and getting further into that weirdness and looking for some things that will help amplify that weirdness. David Lynch has been a big influence on me for that. He did Twin Peaks, Eraserhead, among other things. Blue Velvet, which is an incredibly weird movie if you've ever seen it before.
Nope.
You can't see him, but he's shaking his head right now.
Yeah, no.
But really, it's just all about us following the cues of Hollywood right now. Really, the only movie that's about to shoot at this point is Batman. Matt Reeves' Batman film is supposed to start shooting again in the next month or so here.
Right. And
so, I'm guessing once they start following the lead of a superhero film that's shooting again, everything else will follow behind it, and Hollywood will be in sort of a weird state as they sort of figure out how to work things again and how to put social distancing measures on set and whatnot, which I'm sure they've been doing for the past 5 months, But it'll be weird seeing how this all impacts the business itself. It's already impacting the theater industry. I mean, the movie Tenet, Christopher Nolan's Tenet, has already been pushed, 3 or 4 times at this point. And I think it's supposed to come out next week. I'm not sure, but Christopher Nolan's insisting that it has a theatrical release.
Sure. Yeah, well, I just saw that the New Mutants movie that's been pushed around for so many years now is actually being released this Friday. Tomorrow.
That's crazy to think. Because it seems like every time they had a release date, something came along and snatched it away.
Yeah.
And COVID was one of those things, of course, where I think they were supposed to release it in March last time.
Mm-hmm.
And then, boom, it got snapped away again. And here they are finally releasing it.
Right.
Yeah.
Wow. Well, that's cool. I'm looking forward to the New Mutants and Tenet, mostly Tenet, but yeah.
Yeah. I'm really excited for Tenet. I haven't seen much footage purposely. I'm trying to stay like
Sure.
out of it as far as footage goes because I did that with his film Interstellar, Nolan's film Interstellar,
Right.
and I was blown away by what I saw.
Mm-hmm.
And I kind of did the same thing with Dunkirk, which was the movie that came after Interstellar for him,
Right.
and was once again just blown away by the storytelling beat. And I'm just like, I'm trying to stay out of it again. I mean, Christopher Nolan's always an interesting guy. I mean, he's always had an interest in voice in the business. A lot of his films have some kind of element of time in them,
Right.
whether it's Memento or Interstellar or Inception for that matter. They all have some kind of way they play with time, and that's always fun to see how he's gonna do that. And it looks like from the first trailer that I've had no chance to watch, which the last Star Wars movie. It looks like he's pulling time backwards this time, which looks really cool.
Right.
And I'm also hearing it has to do with stopping World War III.
Yeah.
Like something like that. But like I said, I'm trying to trying to stay away from it.
Yeah, I think you're going to be pleasantly surprised. I'm still trying to wrap my head around it. I did hear, and I don't think this is no spoiler, that on set, Christopher Nolan was trying to tell them how to act, and they were like, huh? Like you're supposed to act because this happened, and da-da-da, and they're like, how do I even act like, so they were trying to, even the actors were trying to wrap their heads around that. But anyway, so as a film student, it's impacted y'all's productions and things like that. And it's definitely taken a hit overall. I was actually in King Soopers, which is a local grocery store here for those of you who are listening outside of Colorado. Same as Kroger. And I know the manager, and we were just catching up one day, and we both like Stranger Things, and he said, "Hey, when do you think they're gonna bring our show back?" And I was like, "I don't know. They've stopped all production on everything, and I really haven't, I haven't seen anything other than the one little trailer that the teaser trailer they put out, and so it's even in just everyday conversation, like, hey, when's our favorite show coming back? Is kind of interesting. So yeah.
I mean, I think they barely got started with filming this next season when everything hit.
Yeah.
Like, I think they're one of the many anticipated things that were just like, okay, we're about to start filming, and then a week later Hollywood was like, yeah, we're going to shut down for now. And I can imagine that's causing a lot of anxiety for the writing team to go back and like all the production team, but it's probably a good thing because they're probably having more time also to perfect certain things. I mean, for all we know, they probably just rewrote the entire season of Stranger Things during this entire time,
Yeah.
Maybe they said, aha, we don't like that anymore. We're just going to start from scratch and redo the whole thing.
That's the great thing about having this downtime, is that you can really kind of push in and expand things if you wanted to, and rewrite things. Yeah. How do you think it's affecting Hollywood in general? Like, besides just movie release dates?
Like, I mean, a lot of people in Hollywood, I mean, they work from sets. They do a lot of like even lower set positions. They're having, a lot of those people probably had to find other jobs, like smaller positions such as grips or,
camera guys, grips.
Yeah, all these guys, they had to find other jobs in the meantime. I know somebody at the film school here who was a grip on Spider-Man Homecoming, which was a couple of years ago now, but he was supposed to go back and grip another big project, I think, this year. He was talking about it, but he ended up not being able to, and he does the photos for Vandermeer Speedway now, or he's always been doing that, but like he made that his primary job during this summer, so that he was having an income of some kind. And he's one of the people that's, he left the business initially to get more training like at our school. He, to get more film history, more film knowledge, just more networking,
Right.
and then did it in an interesting time to where everything just shut down. I think he was supposed to go back next year. I can ask him for sure, but yeah, I mean, it's definitely affecting people's livelihoods. I wouldn't worry so much about Steven Spielberg or some of the other bigger guys, like, bigger Hollywood bigwigs.
Right.
Steven Spielberg's deep in post on the West Side Story remake right now, which is beyond me why he's remaking that movie. But a lot of directors were lucky that their projects finished filming, or a lot of, films were lucky that their projects finished filming right before this, so that all they had to do was worry about the editing. And, James Gunn wrapped on Suicide Squad literally 2 weeks before everything really went bad.
Oh, good.
Which, yeah. And so he's just been focusing on editing for the past few months, I'm sure. And inevitably he's going to have to figure out a way to do reshoots and pickups and things like that. And that's in the coming months if he wants to have it come out in October next year, that's like one of the only movies that's kept its release date so far.
Okay.
Is Suicide Squad.
Yeah, I think
he's going to have to find a way to get reshoots done if he wants to keep going on that track he was on.
Yeah, I think I just saw an announcement for a trailer for that. I haven't watched it
Yeah.
yet.
Yeah, the other day at the DC Fandom, he basically revealed the character rap sheets.
Okay.
He revealed who was playing who.
Oh, good.
And he showed like a sizzle reel of set footage that was kind of comparing the movie to a 70s war movie.
Mm-hmm.
And like, you can't hear my hearing aid squealing through this, can you?
Nope.
Okay, cool. Hold on. There we go.
For our audience, Josh has a slight hearing impairment. Can you hear the hearing aid squealing?
Yeah.
Is it bothering you? Can you hear me now?
Okay, it wasn't all the way in, that's why.
Okay.
It was kind of sticking out. Suicide Squad. Yeah, Gunn said it was supposed to be like a 70s war movie. So I'm guessing movies like Sorcerer, Apocalypse Now had a huge influence on the way that movie is going to look. I'm for one, I'm excited for it, especially after the last one, the original, which I think is a horrible movie. I don't even want to call it a film. It just feels like a long music video.
Yeah.
With DC characters in the middle of it.
Exactly. So, yeah, man, I really feel for like I know the actors and the producers and the directors, they're all fine. I do feel for like the custodians and the grips and the people that run food and stuff to sets and all that stuff. So that's gonna be, hopefully they're fine. And yeah, pandemics,
all those smaller positions are definitely taking a hit.
Right. So how do you think this will change the process of filmmaking in the future? Because if you don't know when something's going to be shut down, do you think this is going to rush that process? Streamline it, maybe? Talk to me.
I think with green screen and CGI becoming such a thing right now, that, green screen's been a thing for years, but they could easily, shoot a conversation of two people against a green screen, composite it together, and make it look like they were both there both at the same time. If we're talking in terms of social distancing, right? Right. And also when it comes to crowd scenes, just CGI a whole bunch of fake people there, people probably wanted to notice, Right. They probably wouldn't notice unless you pointed them out, because CG has become so realistic looking. Right. That it could serve as an alternative, or even getting to the point where some actors are being brought back from the dead using CG. I hope it doesn't go that far.
You mean, Yeah, not even with green screen, but with the deep fake stuff, they could do that.
Yeah. I mean, I've had, I've always had problems with Peter Cushing being in Rogue One. There's something about it that just looks not real.
Of course.
And if you can, yeah, compare it to like an actual picture of him, his head is more narrow.
Even more narrow than.
Yeah, it's like even more like he's a little bit taller than he's supposed to be,
Right.
and like that's that's like they tried, but it still looks like a video game character at the end of the day.
Sure.
If you watch it in 4K, like on Disney Plus or something, it really shows.
Yeah.
And it just like you just kind of want to hide your eyes in any of the scenes he's in. But like I do think there's a line to be drawn in the sand when it comes to doing stuff like that. I do think that there needs to be a way to, still film actors in live action and not completely rely on CG. And I just think it's about the way the way a cinematographer creates shots, the way he frames everything up at the end of the day is the way that, it's just about the creative side at that point. It's just like, how can you, have, two people that are 6 feet apart, look like they're standing right next to each other. It's really, like I said, it's just all in the art of the way they do it,
Yeah.
That's something
I think they can also like have everybody screened for COVID or whatever.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, especially if it's a big budget movie, you could probably have, screening happen every day before they walk on set. I can't imagine sets being like any more than the necessary personnel at this point.
Sure.
So like talking, a grip, a gaffer, a best boy, all these, the sound guy, the camera op, and, the DP and the director are really the essential personnel when it comes to a set. And maybe a makeup person or two. But like all the other people that don't necessarily need to be there at that given moment will help alleviate the amount of people that are in a given space.
Right.
And will help, it'll be safer in that regard. And I honestly think that it can be said that more would get done in that regard.
Mm-hmm.
Because then not everybody's trying to come up to the director and ask him this question or ask him that question. Because usually that's a lot of the time, that's what happens to a director in between takes is they get bombarded by stuff. The AD gets bombarded by stuff and it kind of slows them down a bit. But like I think more, it'll turn around the workload a bit and more stuff will get done. And yeah, it'll be a safer way to shoot movies and make them in the future.
Yeah. And I think even just collaborating with, screenwriters and things like that, now that they can do Zoom or Google Meet or whatever platform they want to choose, that makes it so much more efficient because you can now, someone could be in LA and someone could be in New York and they're writing the next feature film, and they just send it to get made,
Yeah.
Or even editing.
It's not like having, the editing can pretty much be done on, away from where the director is. Like I've seen footage in the past of Peter Jackson from The Hobbit.
Right.
Editing. He was basically making 3 movies at once.
Mm-hmm.
And so there's footage of him sitting in one room watching stuff happen on the screen, but also looking at his computer at the fact that they're editing another scene and, all the way across, wherever, or filming or something like that. So it's very possible, to use Zoom and Google Meet and all these other, softwares like this to help get things made more efficiently.
Yeah, I agree. That's cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. Hopefully it'll be more streamlined and efficient and
yeah.
I just hope we I hope we still, even though it's more streamlined and efficient, we still get good quality filmmaking.
Yeah. It's all hard to say right now. You know, I mean, they delayed the Oscars by a couple months next year.
Right.
You know, which like I haven't heard anything about any like movies that are coming out that are going to be in that race next year, in the Oscar race. It's been pretty quiet about it so far. Usually by August you start seeing trailers, and you know the festivals of those Oscar movies would be happening right now. You know, like Sundance and all those other big festivals that determine the next season of Oscars are usually happening from now to October. And then like, yeah, so it's like not much is coming out right now. The French Dispatch, Wes Anderson's next movie, would have been in this race, but they pushed it a year.
Mm-hmm.
There's just a lot of movies are just, you know, are being pushed into the next year instead of, you know, hitting digital releases and, you know, the online video on demand stuff, which I'm seeing a lot of movies have been hitting that already.
Yeah.
Such as The King of Staten Island and, you know, just a few others. What was it? Mulan that we were talking about recently.
Yeah, it's going straight to Disney Plus, right?
Yeah. And like you have to pay $30 to watch that. Which
I might wait.
I'm not gonna bother with it. I'm just gonna wait.
Well, you know, and I understand they're trying to make up for it not having a theatrical release.
Yeah.
Is Black Widow going straight to Disney Plus?
Yeah, under that same like protocol, I think, where it's gonna be like a part of like Disney, like what's it called, like Premiere or something, I think.
Yeah.
It's like an access package, kind of like a subscription thing where you have to pay $30 to watch it or something like that. And then yeah, and I don't think there was any other big movies that Disney had this year. They did release Onward pretty quickly onto Disney Plus after everything shut down. They had it on Disney Plus within a week or two, I think, after everything came down. And I still didn't watch it for another couple months. You know, just, you know, I don't know what happened, but I think I got busy with class or something at that point, and it took me until like 2 weeks after the semester started to finally sit down and watch it. And I thoroughly enjoyed it. But me and a couple of friends had plans to go see it in theaters the weekend that everything went to hell.
Right.
And so, yeah, I mean, that theoretically, had I chose to go, would have been the last movie that I saw in theaters before everything happened, or before everything got shut down.
Yeah.
But instead it was actually Uncut Gems with Adam Sandler, which was like a month and a half before that. So I actually haven't been to a movie theater since January at this point, and it's starting to get noticeable.
Yeah.
It's starting to get like, oh my God, I need to get to a theater. I'm losing my mind. It's like, it was a pastime for me, you know. It was like, it was something to do when there was nothing else to do, you know. Even if I've already seen the movie, you know, 3 freaking times, you know, it was a way to get out of the house for a while.
Yeah. What let's say theaters opened up and there's a plethora of movies out there that you're so looking forward to seeing, and you have the option to go see one or two of those. Like, what's the first movie, if everything was open, what's the first movie that you'd want to go see?
Like, of the ones that are coming out, or ones that have been like...
Yeah, the ones that are coming out and the ones that have been delayed and all that good stuff. Like, let's say they're all ready to go, you know, next month, all theaters are opening, no restrictions. You can choose from whatever movie you want to go see that's coming out. That's been coming out, rumored to come out.
The French Dispatch was one that I was really looking forward to seeing. That's like the biggest one on my list. It was one of my most anticipated of this year. I'm trying to think of what else. I'm not in any rush to see Black Widow. I haven't been. Like, I just haven't been that excited about it.
Mm-hmm.
God, I've forgotten about so many movies that were supposed to come out.
Tenet?
This was supposed to like come out this past June, but got pushed to next August. But there was a Beatles documentary that's coming out called Get Back.
Okay. And
it's all the footage of all the audio and video that was recorded at the time that the Beatles were recording what became Abbey Road and Let It Be, the last two albums they had.
Yeah, I think I saw a trailer for that.
Yeah, all that footage was going to be put together by Peter Jackson, the director of Lord of the Rings. It was going to be restored in 4K the same way he did They Shall Not Grow Old, that World War One documentary. It was going to be done in that same way, and it was supposed to come out on Disney Plus this past June, but it got pushed a year. So I would love a chance to see that in theaters, especially since I've been on like a Beatles high for the past year, and I can't seem to get enough of them at this point. It would have been great to see that in theaters, and of course we'd wait another year for it. But this year it would have been an appropriate year for it to come out, because Let It Be, the album, is turning 50 this year. And so this would have been a great year to have it all come out, have the 50th anniversary of the album, all the 50th anniversary stuff, and it's just like, it's all pushed to next year now. And yeah, I mean, Get Back and French Dispatch are my two biggest ones that I wanted to see in theaters, that I want to see in theaters. Also, if somebody could find me Star Wars without all the special edition changes and restored in 4K, now we're talking.
Yeah, that would be nice. Well, this would be a good time for us to take a break. We've got a little advertisement coming up here, but yeah, so we'll go ahead and take a break, and Josh and I will be right back. And we're back with Mr. Josh O'Gorman. Josh, take it away.
I'm still here.
Still here.
I'm still here.
So you're a movie enthusiast.
Yes.
You are currently in Denver going to what film school?
Colorado Film School. It's like the biggest program here at CCA, the Community College of Aurora. It's like the biggest program. It's the most sought after, one of the most sought after in the country. Our program director is Brian Stewart. He made it high, and he worked his way up in the business, and he stopped at second AD. He did movies such as The Italian Job with Mark Wahlberg. He was the second AD on that. He was an AD on Spy Kids, and of course he worked for Amblin Entertainment back in the day.
Okay.
He was one of he worked for Steven Spielberg in his prime. So he'd have to work on sets like The Goonies and Batteries Not Included. And of course, I've asked him all these questions about, like all these people and all these, that's one of my favorite eras in film is that one. So the second that he said that out loud, I was like, wow, this guy is really cool. And of course, I went into him and I started asking him questions. And yeah, I mean, he's the leader of our school, and we've got some other industry people that have been in and out teaching classes and such. Yeah, it's a really good school. A lot of people have a good success rate coming out of there. And a lot of people, and then there are some people that just end up being faculty at the school too, which is pretty cool because then they can teach what they themselves learned years prior as a student there at CFS.
Gotcha. And what is your degree going to be in?
Writing and directing.
Okay. And where do you want to go after you graduate?
That I'm still kind of on the fence about. I've kind of had SCAD in the back of my mind. Savannah College of Art and Design down in Georgia.
Yep.
I've had some internships in mind. Just kind of going straight ahead to an internship of some kind. One of the ones that's kind of stuck out to me in the past couple of years has been Conan O'Brien, the late night talk show host. He's got like an internship program that I've kind of thought about looking into.
Awesome.
And then, honestly, New Zealand's got a pretty big film industry. It's one of my dreams to end up in New Zealand as it is. That I've always wanted to go there. And so just kind of bringing those two things together would be cool. And, just working in the New Zealand film circuit, which is, one of the biggest names out of it right now is Taika Waititi, who did Thor Ragnarok and Jojo Rabbit. And so, it's they've got a pretty good thing going for them down there. And yeah, I mean, those are my ideas right now. Of course, some of them are on hold given the state of everything happening. You know, some of them I'm kind of reconsidering. Some of them I'm trying to preempt forward. And, you know, it all depends on, I guess, what happens in the next year with, I guess, the world, I guess, is the best way to put it.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm also not, you know, wanting, you know, the politics of our world and everything to just kind of like stop me from doing something. But then again, I'm being held back by a lease right now, so I can't really do much. And so, yeah.
You know, I think this is a great time for everybody to invest in their own capital because we have the time. And so even though you're going to school and you want to maybe end up in New Zealand at some point, this is a great time for you to perfect your craft in writing and directing and doing those things so that you're prepared once you get there to New Zealand or wherever you go. But it's a great time for us to, you know, to do those things, to invest in ourselves and build on our own capital, learn new skills and things like that. And so it's a good time.
That's exactly why I'm leaning toward doing the final project in my prod class this year.
Mm-hmm.
They're giving it as an option kind of thing as far as like what your major is. As a writing directing major, I think I'm definitely going to step up to the plate and have people crew up with me the way that, you know, like, remember how you used to do in video production, how like we would have crews and stuff like that?
Yep.
We're pretty much doing the same thing in my prod class. We're kind of doing that same thing since we can't like exactly work with other people from outside of our class, which is we could if we wanted to, but we're kind of keeping it to our class right now.
Yeah.
If we want to do a final project, I'm definitely going to step up to the plate and say, hey, I got something. I want to make this. Let's figure out a way to get it made.
Good.
And I've got a first draft of that script, as I mentioned earlier, and I'm going to upload that and see what I get back on it, and then do another draft on it, and then just kind of keep working forward and, you know, just kind of getting that ball rolling. And then hopefully the idea, this is what I gathered from it so far, this is the information I have, is that we're going to start doing those shoots in December, and then spend next semester doing the post on it so that the editing can be as perfect as it can be, you know, and not have it. The way our schedule worked out last year is we have 3 weeks to edit our final projects. That's not much time, you know, for a project of a bigger scale like I'm doing this year.
Right.
So like we have a much larger time frame to get more editing done, get more, you know, do a reshoot if we have to, so that it can be as perfect as it can be when we submit it to festivals and when we submit it to what our students show, our student showcase, which is where all of the films that are made across that semester are all thrown together and basically like a compilation. And then we sit down in a movie theater and we watch them all, like 5 from each level or something like that. The 5 that are best from each level of productions. And then a couple of documentary shorts too. And then they basically have an Oscar ceremony afterwards.
Cool.
Like, you know, like, yeah. And so that's kind of a cool thing to work toward. My pride teacher is not exactly fond of that, but he supports it. And definitely my goal is to work toward getting into that show next year and just trying to have that final product be as perfect as it can be and just have, you know, everything work out to that piece. So that's why I'm really trying to take my time with this and make sure it gets done the right way. The script itself has been written since April, the first draft. I just now saw that I had notes on it the other night when I opened up my school. It's basically the equivalent of Infinite Campus for you guys.
Right.
They lock it during the summer so that you can't see your emails or anything like that. So I didn't see that I had got an email from somebody a few days before the semester ended with those notes on it about my script. And so I just got it the other day. And so like, I was really like, yes, I have to go forward on this. You know, it's really, yeah, it's getting me excited now just thinking about it, you know. Just,
good.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Like I said, I'm looking forward to it.
Good.
Yeah.
What's the one film that you want to make? Like, what's your, if you're looking back over your life at the end of your life and you're like, that was my best film. Or what's something that you think like, man, if I could ever get the rights to make this film, or if I could ever make a film about this, what would it be? For me, it would be, I would want to remake The Wizard of Oz.
Ooh.
But that's a huge endeavor. And it would have to be, done very well.
Yeah.
But
I haven't.
Go ahead.
I had an idea recently to take Ian McKellen, the guy that plays Gandalf in Magneto, and put him in a movie as James Bond at his age right now.
Mm-hmm.
So basically an older version of Bond. I don't know what the story is there yet, but like I had the idea about a month ago, and it just gave me chills thinking of Ian McKellen standing there, in a tuxedo or something like that, or just with the gun in his hand and hearing the theme, a Bond style theme. It's just like, oh man, that's cool. How do I work that into a story?
Yeah.
And just like picturing his voice saying Bond, James Bond, was something else that just seemed like, ooh man, that's cool. Like I'd have to figure out how to get that rolling. Where's the story there?
Yeah.
But like that would be a cool project to have like my name on at the end of it all.
Mm-hmm.
If they had waited a few more years to do the last 3 Star Wars movies, I feel like I could have made a really good, last one compared to the one that they have out now.
Sure.
That would be, I don't know, just to have my name on a Star Wars movie in general would be cool. I'd always had secret ambitions to make a Obi-Wan Kenobi movie where he leaves Tatooine and has this, had another encounter with Vader before the last one on the Death Star. It's always been kind of an idea that I've had. Oh man, that's a good question. Let's see. Wow. There's a lot of answers to that one. There's a lot of things that I've always had like, yeah, I would love to have my name on that somehow.
Yeah. So when you come back on in a few years, I want to ask you, which film have you made that you hated? That it just turned out to be a steaming pile of poop. And you'll tell me, because we've all been there. We've all made those films. Or we've all created that art. That's like, this just did not work out.
I look back on the Insomniac in that regard. That short film that I made a few years back. I can't even look at it now just because of how amateur I was at the time and just like how cliche it is. And it's just like, I have to hide my eyes every time I come across it on YouTube. It's just like not something I can look at anymore. And it's like I haven't heard Eddie or Lindsay, the stars of that film, mention it since about 6 months after I released it. And so like, it's not something I want to think about anymore. Just like I'm having a hard time trying to build like, just build up that self-confidence of like, okay, like I'm having a hard time trying to find something to be really proud of. My final for my production class last year was something that I loved. Turned out really well. It's one of the few projects I can say, yeah, this turned out great.
Yep.
Just because I had like actual lights and stuff and, a cinematographer who was class A at what he was doing. He invented some really cool shots. I'm going to have to figure out a way to describe this. We had a shot of somebody's driving in a car, but we couldn't actually drive. Like that's one of the school rules that you can't drive with the camera in the car.
Mm-hmm.
And it was a nighttime scene. So what he did was he held the camera up to the mirror and he took the flashlight from his phone and he waved it across so that it looked like an oncoming car.
Sure.
And so that when you look at the footage, the light passes him in a way that looks like the car going in the opposite way.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like if you add the sound effect to it, it sells it even more. But like he did that, and I was just like, man, this dude is really good. And like, just like, it's like little simple tricks like that, that you have to, it's kind of like that on-set improvisation thing when you're not quite sure how to do something. That was one of those examples of that, of
Yeah.
solving that problem at the very last second.
Right. Good.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah. Okay. Any other questions?
Yeah. Well, as we wrap up, what are some things I kind of mentioned it earlier about kind of investing in your own capital. What are some things that you're doing kind of during COVID and this time to, like, are you writing? Are you? I mean, I think you said you just got back into classes, right? So
yeah.
So what are you doing to be creative? What's on the horizon?
I've actually kind of started putting together ideas for a play recently, to write a play. I've worked in the restaurant industry for, if you want to combine my time between Old Chicago last year and Fuzzy's Taco Shop this year, I have enough material to pull from of the drama between the staff members to kind of pull from and just kind of turn it into a story. So I've been kind of like whittling stuff out and just kind of working on stuff for that. I've like basically, yeah, that's been one of my biggest passion projects recently, has been that, and just kind of writing excerpts from that. And like, I've told a couple of people at work about it, and they were just like, "Oh, we have more than enough stories from here for you to pull from," because like where I work is a pretty dramatic place. We had two couples that have quit recently that were really drama fueled.
Yeah.
And so like, it was like, okay, cool. I got some things from you. I got some things from you. So I'm going to start putting it all together now. And so like, that's been one of my things recently. I had a hard time trying to get myself to write during the actual stay at home period of all this. I had a hard time trying to write anything that wasn't class related, such as a paper or anything like that. It was hard for me to like really sit down and do anything creative because my anxiety at that point was just so high about everything. I was trapped in my apartment constantly at that point. I left very few times during that period. And my apartment is basically the equivalent to a hotel room if you really look at it. And so like, it was kind of cramped at times. And so that kind of did something that kind of, nerve wracked me. And so it was hard for me to be creative during that point. But as slowly as the summer kind of, evolved, I was able to kind of get myself back into writing every once in a while, and to just kind of be able to, to sit down and enjoy movies again was a huge thing, because it was so hard for me to do that when I was stuck here during April. It was just so hard for me to sit down and watch anything new. I constantly flocked back to stuff that I was really familiar with, because I just wasn't wanting to, just go outside that box at that point. But yeah, like I said, I've gotten myself more creative over the summer, and I've just kind of gotten myself back to that point. I mean, I listen to a vinyl record probably once a day. That's something I kind of do. I just kind of sit there and listen to that. I mean, that's one of my habits at this point. I'm trying to put reading back into the equation too. It's been a while since I've read anything. I'm reading a book that Rob Lowe wrote.
Okay.
He wrote a memoir a few years back, and so I'm reading that right now.
Oh, fun.
And and so it's just like I'm kind of reeling in back to basics, and it's starting to feel really good. And especially now that I have classes as a part of the equation again, it's made things even better. But it still doesn't change the fact that I would rather be, actually sitting in the classroom over at, the film school,
right? Absolutely.
Instead of sitting here in my apartment all day.
Yeah,
I would, that's one of the things I miss the most is, just like there were some things that I started doing in the last couple of weeks before everything got shut down that were just like, it was a reason to look forward to going every day just to talk to people in the equipment cage, just to talk to those people about stuff, and just to have that good time with them. And then me and my friends Henry and Jonas, we started going out to dinner after class on Thursday nights. We'd have to do that like 2 or 3 times, and then all of a sudden, boom, we weren't doing it anymore, and it was just the weirdest thing in the world. And I wasn't going to that building anymore, and just consuming copious amounts of energy drinks, to get through my classes. I had classes till like 10 o'clock last year before everything got shut down. 10 o'clock at night, I was staying until that building. And so it took a little extra kick or two to get through it all.
Sure.
Yeah. But I miss so many aspects of what everything used to be. I think we all do at this point.
Yeah.
I'm sure you miss walking around TVHS as much as, walking
good.
between your 2 classrooms.
Oh, yeah. I'm definitely not getting my 10,000 steps in.
Yeah.
So.
And I'm sure you miss, seeing Jarrett and those guys in the editing suite. I mean, it's just. Yeah,
it's going to be weird to see, those going in and seeing the high flyers, that are taking projects and running with them, the kind of the older students, because they're really good examples to the younger students of hey, these are the ones that are going to, make this happen.
Yeah.
And you can be like them, so.
Yeah,
it'll be interesting. The videos will definitely be different. Still kind of not sure. I mean, the kids will have to get into crews on their own, if we do crews at all. But we'll have to see. I think it'll be also a really wonderful creative challenge to see if they can stitch together a video that they come up with. And it may be in pieces, like, somebody films something at their house, another person films something at their house, and then somebody edits all that stuff together, and it may actually turn out really good. So we'll see. We'll see what happens. Yeah.
And the thing I've been wondering about is like, how's the choir, like all the choir kids, at TVHS and the singers, how are they going to cope this year? I mean, like, it's kind of hard to sing over Zoom, because you can't track each other's levels and whatnot. You can't keep other people in time. It's hard to do all that stuff, And so I can imagine all those kids are going to be having a hard time trying to keep it together too.
I agree. Yeah.
And Kettlewell might as well just be. I don't know what he would be doing. I mean, I'm sure he's got it figured out though.
Oh yeah.
He's always been with the plan.
We've been in copious amounts of meetings to plan all this stuff out, so we're all good.
Yeah, but no gala this year, pretty much. I mean, they're not. I'm assuming they're not doing one this year.
A gala?
Yeah, the art gala at the end of the year, or at the end of the first semester.
No, we'll have to wait and see.
Yeah,
it'll depend on kind of COVID stuff and everything. If you can have that many people at the school. But probably not.
I mean, that was a fun thing to go to last year, especially looking at the world today. That was a really fun thing to see last year.
It'll sure put things in perspective and make you not take things for granted.
Yeah, that's probably the one thing that I've gotten out of this is like this entire 5-month period where we've been, the world just hasn't been itself.
Mm-hmm.
It's just like, I don't really take that last night before everything changed. Those last couple of nights I hung out with people before everything changed for granted. I just, like, those nights didn't even have to happen, I mean, and I'm so glad they did, because like, those are some of my biggest memories that I had this year. And they're like picture, like they're vivid, clear memories too, like, and that's something to be said about just, I'm glad I memorized that stuff as well as I did,
Yeah. What's some words of wisdom you would give to up and coming filmmakers?
I don't know. Still trying to let me think about that for a sec.
Take your time. There's only about a million people listening. Go ahead.
Like, I just have a good list of influences, just like there's always something to watch that will just pull you in, and then it will just inspire something else as a result, just like really just kind of, I don't know, just kind of hone what it is you take in, because that might influence the way you write. It might influence the way that you see shots. That's definitely been my case with Quentin Tarantino, right. I guess. Mm-hmm. Just seeing, like, it kind of helps you build up your own style in a way, That's really the best way I can put it. It's, I don't know, that's kind of that's probably the biggest thing I can say. And then just kind of continue writing, like, just write until you can't anymore, write until your fingers hurt, I mean, yeah. I try to, whether it's typing or writing, just continue to do it, and surely something great will come out of it. I mean, my dad compared me to John Steinbeck recently.
Oh, wow.
And so, yeah, that did something for me. And so now I'm trying to live up to that.
That's awesome.
Yep. That's my take on it.
Well, thank you. And
yep.
Thank you for coming on the Creative Liberty podcast. It's always good to catch up with you. Josh and I shot a video many moons ago talking about movies, and then I've had him on the school's podcast, secondary podcast, talking. I think he and Garrett were talking about Star Wars. So it's always good to have you come back on and catch up and see where you are in life. And someday you'll hit me up and you'll be like, hey, by the way, my $1 million movie is about to be released, and let's talk about it. And I'll be like, let's do it.
Yeah.
John Steinbeck.
John Steinbeck.
Well,
yeah. Anything? Well, thanks for having me on.
Yeah, you're so welcome. Thank you so much for coming on. Oh, yeah, one last question. Have you ever seen Cats, the movie?
Yeah.
That's an inside joke. Anyway, well... And with that, I'll roll the outro.
Yeah.
Thanks again, Josh. I appreciate you coming on.
Of course.
This has been the Creative Liberty Podcast. My guest was Josh O'Gorman, film enthusiast. He's currently in film school. So, yeah. Thanks for listening, guys. And, if you haven't checked out the Creative Liberty Podcast, make sure you download it. We're on all the platforms. And, until the next time, I will see you guys later. Take care. Have fun. See ya.